there. Short little video today. There's not much to say really. You're going to be, for this week, you're going to be finishing up the expanded definitions. Well, not quite, but you'll be doing the next big section of it. So I just wanted to kind of reinforce that stuff, make a couple of comments, and off we'll go. So the first thing I wanted to talk about were the summaries that are in the Google Drive that you all have posted and made comments on. That was great. And the revision memos that you've been putting up here. You guys nailed it. I mean, I made a couple of comments, you know, really, and there's not much to say. I just wanted to be sure you kind of got the comments that people were saying. Some people put some really nice feedback on some of your summaries, so you know, be sure and go back in and read that and use those as a way to think about how you're going to revise it, if you're going to revise it. Some of you already have, because there wasn't a lot left to do, and I will go back and take a look at that. But those are in good shape. I think the thing that's the hardest about that summary assignment, and that comes up in the revisions a couple of times, is how hard it is not to put your personal opinions in when you're doing a summary. It's just, as somebody said, it's just so easy to go off, you know, and just say what you're thinking, and it's very hard to stay really objective on that thing. Sorry, short loss of voice break. As I was saying, it's really hard not to put your opinion in sometimes when you're doing summaries. So just, you know, double check when you go back and doing the revisions. I think I caught everything, but do pay attention to it. The only other thing that's going on this week, well, the two things going on. This is the most important, is doing the context section of your expanded definition and adding it on to what's already there in the Google Drive. You don't have to do a whole new doc. Just add it to the stuff that you've already got up there. Now, as I'm doing this at 3:30 on Thursday, the first two sections that people have posted look really good. I think pretty much everybody has figured out what those two sections should contain. So good job on that one. I made a couple of comments on people. I will continue to do that as more of them come in today. And then you move on to the next one. So I jumped up another one. So this is the part you're working on for this week, right? You're going to be picking two genres where your word is being used. Same definition that you're used to is just fine. You know, if you're talking about viruses and you're talking about computers, you know, that's your field. You don't have to go back into the viruses of, you know, the biological viruses, which some of you talked about as alternative definitions, which they are. So stick with your field. Find a couple of things. Again, it could be an academic journal, a magazine, a newspaper article, social media. Honest to goodness, I've had some really good things done here from some of the Twitter threads that go with some of the professions. You're going to have to nose around and find those hashtags, but they're out there. Like in my field, I have hashtag books. So it's the book Twitter land, right? Just like there's cat Twitter land. So look around and see if there's anything in Twitter that is part of your field that you could use. It's just one suggestion, okay? But whatever you choose, just two of them, it introduces this context section by saying what you chose and why you chose them, which is an interesting thing in itself to think about, and then analyzing each one of the sources. You don't have to do a whole lot of analysis of it. You don't have to get into great rhetorical analysis like you did with the annotations, although it would be an interesting and useful thing to put in here. They're not requiring that of you in this context. But if you want to talk about, you know, who the source is, we have to say who the source is. You want to talk about their credentials, how credible they are. It would make it an interesting thing to talk about, because you've got a page and a half to do all this stuff. So the more you can talk about the source and how credible, how good this information is, probably the better off you'll be. And then the important thing is to say what the term means in the context of that particular genre for that particular audience. So if it's a professional article, professional journal, for example, you can say it means, if it's a new article, it means they're trying to give new information about the term or the field or something like that. And why to that audience? Because this is a professional journal talking to professionals. So that's the kind of stuff that goes in here. Okay, so again, it's pretty straightforward. And then for next week at the end, and you can do this now. I mean, you can go ahead and if you want to, because there's not a lot else going on this week with assignments, you can write a conclusion where you kind of, this is like a compare and contrast thing. I can talk more about it next week, but that's essentially what it is. You know, it's supposed to be 2 genres instead of 3 because we changed it from 3 to 2. Genres used the word differently or the same. Okay, so again, the conclusion is sort of what you learned, what surprised you, how it was used differently in different contexts, right? So, but this is the part that's due this week. Once that's the first part of the assignment for the week. Also, week 5. This is a just for fun thing. Now, one of the things that is new about the world of technical writing since I started many bazillion years ago is that we really do pay attention to the author, to the audience. So what I want you to do is to write, just create an Open Lab post and write a couple of sentences, right, where you use your term and then you define that term for 2 different audiences. Right? So you're used to talking in these terms for professionals in your field. Now, say you have to define a virus for a 4th grade student. Okay, these are 9-year-olds, 9 and 10-year-olds, right? How do you can't, because you can't write it like you're talking to another professional in the field. So how do you write that? Just write a sentence. A virus is. And it can be 2 sentences, you know, just a short definition of what that term means and how a 4th grader would understand it. Same for an older non-tech adult. Somebody my age who has no idea what an NFT is. I don't know what an NFT is, so I do know what it is. But, you know, if somebody, I've seen them on the subway recently. There are these things in the subway that says NFTs, you know, talking about blockchains and NFTs, and the person I was standing with going, I don't even know what that stuff means. I said, you're the wrong generation. So if you're trying to explain NFT or virus to an older non-tech adult, how would you do that? So again, this is very short. I'm talking, you know, 100 words, 200 at most. You know, it's very short, just a couple of sentences, where you get to think more about how you would define your term to a non-technical audience, one of whom is 9 or 10, and the other of whom is older and really doesn't know anything about it. So that's essentially it for the week. Again, I'm available on Slack, and I will put the video right here, and I'll fix that other part of it so that it's 2 sources and not 3. Let me know if you have trouble, and I will see you next week.